Protection of Sovereignty Bill 2026. Well, it's been greeted with mixed reactions. We'll be looking at the reservations, the determination, the spirit, and everything that surrounds it. It's here. I've had this copy. I've read it online. Now I have it physically. Quite a lot of interesting bits. The bill, in its sense, seeks to operationalize, or rather, the object is to enact a law that seeks to provide for the protection of the sovereignty of the people of Uganda, to designate the department responsible and regulation of agents of foreigners. Remember, today one is deemed a foreigner if you have lived out of the country for 3 months. Well, we'll be delving deeper into the nitty-gritty of the bill and its implications across the IO. Joining me tonight is Honorable Ssemujju Ibrahim Nganda, Member of Parliament, Kira Municipality, and Secretary General of the PFF, together with Mr. Charles Ouma, Deputy Solicitor General, Honorable Chris Bariomusi, Minister of Information and National Guidance, and the outgoing Lord Mayor and President of the PFF, Honorable Erias Lukwago, will also be joined by a member of civil society, Mr. Job Keija, to share their perspective. Good to have you all, and a very good evening.
Thank you.
Honorable Ssemujju, I know you have a knack for reading deep into this bill, rather into matters of national interest. How much have you grasped about this bill, and what's your take on what it presents?
I think if you want to understand legislation bills, you don't stop at the content. The intention is very important. Because even when a bill doesn't say something, it becomes just a framework to deal with a particular issue. I remember when the Public Order Management Now Act came, the movers of the bill, that time I think one of the main promoters was Kale Kayihura, was that we want to regulate public meetings, just regulation. But they started using the law to say, now we must be the one to allow a rally to take place or not. So the content of the bill, what is written in the bill, sometimes may not go as far as revealing the intention of those who are behind the bill, because the content will never cover the full intention. It's just a framework. It's just a shield. But this bill deals with the movement of money, mainly.
Foreign funding.
Yes. We did a law on money laundering. We did a number of legislation regarding movement of money, financing of terrorism, and so on and so forth. So there was no need to do another law. But I think this bill comes to deal with politics. Mr. Museveni, because he controls the means of violence, his regime survives on money and violence. In the last election, I have spoken to some NRM friends. They tell me because he keeps asking, these fellows who have no money, how come they are sustaining a campaign? How come they are doing this and this? And then his handlers will tell him, no, they are still receiving money from outside. I remember each time we had either protests in Kampala, Museveni and his people, and so on and so forth. So this bill seeks to achieve the same things, that how do I stop people who are opposed to my administration from accessing money? How do I stop? Because they think the opposition is sponsored by the outside. But also you have growing number of Ugandans. You go to Europe, you go to the Middle East, you go to Asia, who are interested in what takes place in Uganda. I have gone, I was in South Sudan. I was surprised that in the market in South Sudan, you had Ugandans who were raising money monthly and they send back to their political parties. It was, it is. And it's not that they don't know. So they will want to stop everybody. And that's why Ugandans are also, because even when you look at I think now remittances by Ugandans who are outside is at 1.7, and the money from tourism is at about 1.6 trillion. So the money they send, you'll never know whether it comes to help their political parties. So you now want people who are sending money to be registered and those who are receiving. So that's why the law now must establish a mechanism of, if you're a bank and you want
in essence, do you want to suggest that the state is so paranoid at this time?
No, because you see, Museveni, and I don't even want to accuse the state, he must be the source of money for everything. You are the one who must give MPs, give the clergy, give traditional leaders, give sex workers in Ibali, give everybody. So in Uganda, there must not be any other person giving money to anyone. But you also hear sometimes wrongly that these people have received money from here and there. There are Ugandans from outside, they raise money and send it to... So you must stop them.
Thank you.
That's why you want to classify Ugandans now as foreigners, and you want to criminalize the movement of money in this century.
Mr. Charles Ouma, you're part of the drafting in this. Share with us an overview on what this law or this bill in its current form means to the country and what it seeks to cure.
Thank you, moderator. Thank you, colleagues. Thank you, viewers. I'll give some historical context to matters to do with the bill before us. And I'm going to flash to the United States of America. In 1796, George Washington, the then president of the United States of America, just before he left power, made a clarion call to the American people to be wary of foreign interests in the affairs of the United States of America. He actually referred to them as tools and dupes and said, beware. They may be interested in the affairs of the United States of America for wrong reasons. In 1852, the Congress of the United States of America, that is jointly, House of Representatives and the Senate, made a joint resolution and said that we should, as an American people, be wary of the insidious wiles of foreign interference and foreign elements. What that triggered later on down the line, after about 1933 or so, was the enactment of the Foreign Agents Registration Act, which has been amended over time. This, I draw your attention, is really a geopolitical and policy question. In 1965, the Dayan of Singapore, Lee Kuan Yew, gave an anecdote while being interviewed by the British, some British and American journalists of an experience he had. And he narrated the story of how some foreign forces within America tried to bribe a special branch officer of the Singapore government to facilitate and avail information about the Singapore government. And this gentleman refused to take that bribe. He then reported that to his chief, who in turn reported to Lee Kuan Yew. The option of the government of Singapore at the time was whether to prosecute him or not.
Fast forward here.
But he did not. A promise was given to the Singapore government.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a background. $100 million offered to the Singapore government, and $10 million to Lee Kuan Yew to let it lie low. What am I trying to say here is that this is a geopolitical issue. It's a very sensitive matter. It is not akin only the Republic of Uganda. It is all over the world. There's a plethora of nations that have come up with similar laws. So this particular law is basically to take care of the interests of Uganda, the sovereignty of Uganda, and Uganda's interests going forward as a nation.
Have you tried to digest or take in the views, for instance, from Uganda Law Society, from the bankers, from activists, from the opposition? There are reservations about this particular bill.
Yes, we have. Some of them have been gracious enough to formally communicate their position. And we take cognizance that matters legislation will never ordinarily generate unanimity. And that means we welcome all the views that come from different actors and stakeholders. These views are recognized, they are appreciated. Actually, some of the recommendations may enhance the final enactment of the law if Parliament eventually considers it. A number of them have declared they will actually participate in the public discussion before Parliament on this matter and share the same views. So we recognize there are various views about matter. It's also an emotive issue, but one thing I would like to appreciate is society has been given an opportunity to discuss it.
In a matter of weeks, it's been 2 weeks.
Well,
what explains the haste?
I do not control speed of legislation processes, but the question maybe we should ask is, why not? Is there any particular time at which legislation should be introduced in Parliament? Is there a particular speed at which legislation should be passed? I don't know. I'll leave that to the politicians.
Whose sovereignty are you protecting?
You and me.
When the players, the people who would be the beneficiaries of this, are opposed.
Well, that is why I think we have a legislature, a parliament. Parliament is constituted by representatives of the citizenry. We allow the citizenry through their representatives to debate these matters. Eventually, if it's rejected, so be it. If it's welcomed, we'll take it with grace too. Thank you.
Thank you. Lord Mayor, from a legal and political perspective, what does this law, this bill, mean to the country?
I'll start with the legal perspective. And I'll tell you, without any fear of contradiction, and with all due respect to my brother here, Charles Ouma, and those who authored it, it's the most ridiculous, hopeless, useless, and bogus piece of legislation.
That's harsh.
I'm telling you. And I will justify my statement. Of course, we have had a number of, or a litany of useless legislations. But this one goes to the root of the Constitution, the cornerstone of the constitutional order. That is the sovereignty of the people. And that's where it is purportedly anchored on Article 1 of the Constitution. But they are seeking to vulgarize it.
Yeah, but it's
they are distorting it.
It's baptized protection of sovereignty.
Go to Part 2, protection of Part 2 in the preamble of the memorandum, and read what it says. And I will explain it to you as an expert. Part 2.
This part provides for protection of the sovereignty of Uganda by prohibiting the involvement of a person in any activity that promotes the interests of a foreigner against the interests of Uganda Clause 5. Further, the part prohibits
leave it.
any person from performing the functions and services for which government is responsible, specified in the 6th schedule of the Constitution, unless with the approval of Cabinet.
You see, you posed a very fundamental question. Whose sovereignty are you protecting? Part 2, they are talking about sovereignty of Uganda, not sovereignty of the people. And this is important. It's critical. Sovereignty of the country. Yet the foundation of the Constitution is sovereignty of the people. Yes, in objects clause somewhere they're talking about sovereignty, but it's vulgarized.
Maybe this is a drafting error.
No. They deliberately made it. They said protection of the sovereignty of Uganda or the interests of Uganda, by the way, which are not defined, as against foreign interests. Even foreign interests are not defined. But the bottom line here is they are talking of protecting the sovereignty of Uganda, which is a negation of Article 1. Sovereignty of this country resides in the people. You cannot talk of sovereignty of Uganda. And when you are talking about sovereignty of Uganda, of the people, you look at all the dynamics across board, not only foreign interests, even domestic dynamics. Day in, day out, the sovereignty of the people is being subverted and abused by local forces here, the Museveni regime here. So you cannot talk about protection of the sovereignty of the people when actually you are having the lenses focusing on foreign interests alone. That's a vulgarization and a distortion of Article 1 of the Constitution. That's where I wanted to start from. But I want to join issue with the Honorable Semuju about the spirit of this law. You see, when you look at the spirit, when you want to understand the spirit of a legislation, you don't necessarily look at the clauses per se. Of course, it's one of the areas that will guide you, but you look at the environment surrounding that bill. He posed the question. You asked, why the haste? And also, you look at all the issues, all the processes surrounding this bill. It tells volumes that it's all about stifling all the sources of funding for voices that are critical to the regime. It's not only political opposition. All the forces, all the voices critical of the regime, that is the intention, is to stifle them.
Yeah, but when
to starve them of funding. Yes.
When you read, somewhere it says,
yes,
the bill seeks to safeguard Uganda's autonomy and stability. I thought that's critical.
You see, go back to Article 1. Because the legislation must be anchored on particular provisions of the Constitution. When you talk about protection of Uganda's stability, you have a number of legislations to handle that, to cater for that. They are there. And you don't need even to create a department in the Ministry of Internal Affairs, for security and stability. There is a department being created there that they are going to register agents of foreign interests. Foreign interests are not defined, by the way. And when you go again to the preamble, they purport to give that list of the activities which are injurious to the interests of Uganda, which are prohibited. And once you indulge in those ones, then you are caught within the ambit of the law.
So is the bill lost in ambiguity or spirit?
Let me add to the description I gave. I earlier on gave. Bogus, hopeless, useless, repressive, retrogressive, also vague. It's a vague legislation. In an attempt to disguise their mission, the spirit of the law, they ended up coming up with a legislation, a piece of legislation, which is vague, completely vague. You cannot tell what a foreign interest is. Actually, it's not defined. You have a number of, they are trying to define a foreigner to include Ugandans residing, domiciled outside the country, to also include foreign companies, foreign corporations, multinational agencies, and whatnot. In the end, they are suggesting that actually all these entities which are international in nature are foreigners, whether in telecommunication, whether in the banking sector, whether they are in the NGO world, as long as you are based elsewhere and under the company law, you come here and register. Because you are not, they are talking of companies incorporated in foreign jurisdiction. So if you have your company, for example, a bank, I don't want to mention many of them. Indigenous banks are very, very few. Majority are foreign. So if you come and register here, you are not incorporated here, you register here under the Companies Act, you are considered to be a foreign company. Now, whether you're representing foreign interests which are not defined, that's a different matter. But you are considered to be a foreign company. And whoever is working for that company, for that banking institution, must register with the Ministry of Internal Affairs.
There's another clause, F. Any person, institution, or body that the minister may, by statutory instrument, declare to be a foreigner.
Yes, by statutory instrument, the minister is given those discretionary powers to cast the net wide. They can consider any activity, any entity, any person, anyone, and say, now you are also considered to be a foreigner.
Well, Honorable Bariumusi, you realize the bill has had a lot of opposition. Law society, the bankers, civil society, name it. Wouldn't you find it prudent maybe to do more reflection, halt it for now, shelve it, and do more consultation? And besides, is there an existential threat that warrants such a law?
Yes, first of all, a bill by definition is a proposal. It's a proposed law. And what is happening is healthy because government, through the Ministry of Internal Affairs, drafted, was supported by the Solicitor General and Attorney General's chambers, drafted this law. It passed through cabinet. Also, I can say the NRM members who subscribed to the NRM party also discussed it, and then we cleared the ministers, tabled it in the parliament. It was read the first time and sent to a committee. And at that stage of the committee in the parliament, all of us as members of parliament are given copies of a bill when a bill is brought to parliament. So we are expected to do consultations as MPs because we represent Ugandans. And also the committee, while processing the bill, listens to all those who are affected or interested in the bill. And what's going on now in the committee is that they are receiving a memoranda and several interested parties are appearing before the committee to get views. So I don't know why you appear like you have sleepless nights because Ugandans are voicing their concerns about the bill. That is heresy, and that's how legislation happens, so that you get what the rest of Ugandans are saying. And of course, now the committee will process it. Yes, you may have heard voices, but have you carried out a referendum in Uganda to say majority of Ugandans don't want the bill? They are just getting views from bankers, from different categories. And then
would you treat the categories in isolation?
No. I'm saying the committee now is getting comments from different sections of society. And then they evaluate these comments, and then the committee will make a report to Parliament. The committee, for instance, can say, maybe there is overwhelming rejection, and we propose we put off the bill, or they can propose amendments to the bill to accommodate the concerns being raised, or they can leave it the way it is, so it will again find itself on the floor of Parliament.
What kind of legislation is this to you, in your opinion? Is it good or bad?
Why do you ask a question whose answer you know? I am a member of cabinet, and this bill has been introduced by government, so it's a government bill. But to add to...
No, Honorable Variumus.
Yes.
Do you find this legislation good or bad, yourself?
Oh, best. Good, it's a good bill. Why this bill? We are talking of protection of the sovereignty of Ugandans. Okay, the road mayor says Uganda versus Ugandans, those are just semantics. Uganda is not trees, it is Ugandans. Just hold on. So we are talking about protection of the sovereignty. What is sovereignty? Sovereignty is that power that we should have as Ugandans to govern ourselves, to make decisions for ourselves, to be responsible for whatever happens, and to handle self-determination as a country.
Are you
as
indeed
Ugandans.
protecting Ugandans?
Yes.
Or taking away their sovereignty?
No, just hold on. Why are you impatient? So, Uganda, like many other countries,